Hey Unicorns, this is a continuation of the $35,000 list and the Mary Kay Ash Miracles Happen biography. Then I'll say, okay, that's great. One of these mornings I'm going to call you at about 5:30 and ask you to read me the 6 things on your list. Now, how many still want to join my club? Surprisingly enough, they still raise their hands, and I have been known to call. When you get up at such an early hour, it's sometimes hard to get yourself started. So I always suggest that when a woman gets up, she should make herself presentable for the rest of the day. This is so important for women who do not go to an office, but who work instead from their houses. Getting dressed and putting on makeup lifts a woman's morale and puts her in a business-like frame of mind. A woman who looks good feels good, and as a result, she will also work good. Once you're dressed, the first thing you do is start on your list of the day's 6 most important tasks. Begin with number 1, and don't procrastinate. Everyone has certain little tasks that are easier to avoid. For many Mary Kay consultants, one such task is calling her customers, an essential element in our program of ensuring customer satisfaction. 2 weeks after each sale, a consultant is supposed to call the customer to make certain she's happy with her purchase. She will ask questions such as, are you using your Mary Kay Ash skincare? And are you getting great results? Do you have any questions? This is strictly a service call and a means of letting the customer know that we care about her. Let's face it, companies selling cosmetics over department store counters don't call their customers. This contact helps us reinforce our unique level of service. Often, a customer needs to be instructed once more on the proper use of a specific product. On rare occasions, a consultant may need to pick up an item and exchange it for another formula, or even more rarely, refund the customer's money. Whatever the situation, we know a customer's concerns. We can do something to resolve them. All of this simply means that calling her customers is very important and should be at the top of every consultant's list. But this happens to be one of those things people avoid if they're afraid of rejection. It's easy to fear the task if you think someone's going to say, look, I don't have time to talk to you. Or worse, I don't like those products you sold me. But such a fear is usually unfounded. Once a consultant makes 2 or 3 calls and gets positive, enthusiastic feedback from her customers, she can't wait to get back on the phone. I often tell our consultants and directors, you are the only boss you have, and I want you to be the most demanding boss that you can be. If you really want to make a success of this business, then you must put yourself on a schedule. By 8:30 every morning, you should have completed all of your household duties. Then you should work from 8:30 to 5 o'clock, allowing yourself a 30-minute lunch break and a couple of 10-minute coffee breaks. Then at precisely 5 o'clock, you're off work. We have found that if a consultant will spend that much time with her Mary Kay career as she would if she was working at an office, she can easily make twice as much money as any office job could pay. And we have consultants and directors who are proving this fact every single day. Time is a salesperson's most valuable commodity. In fact, the way in which time is measured can mean the difference between success and failure. An excellent example is of one of our consultants who operates at Southwest. She lives in the Southwest. She lives in a rural town with a population of 7,500. The small population would seem to limit her sales prospects, but our consultant actually books classes within a 150-mile radius of her home. She is able to do this because she practices excellent time management. For example, when she organizes a class 100 miles away, she books another skincare class in that vicinity for the same day. That way, she doesn't waste time and money driving so far for a single appointment. Ordinary people can utilize good time management techniques and get great results. On the other hand, people who seem to have everything going for them can fail if they do not manage time. Often people in a latter group think they're working when in reality they're just worrying. Worrying about those letters can worrying about those letters they should have written, worrying about those phone calls and sales they should have made. My advice has always been, if you're going to waste a day, just waste the living daylights out of it. But if you're going to work, then work. One intense hour is worth a dreamy day. Perhaps this is why I have such little patience when people are not punctual. Recently, I was asked to address a conference of businesswomen regarding ways they could be more successfully organized and manage their careers. But the organizers of the event didn't even know how to manage the program. My speech was to have run from 2 until 3 o'clock, and I spent a good deal. I'm struggling right now, but it's okay. And I had spent a great deal of effort efficiently packing in as much information as I could into that time period. But by 2:15 on the afternoon of the speech, conference participants were still coming into the auditorium and milling around the registration table. The so-called organizers didn't even know how to handle a group of a few hundred people. Finally, they decided to begin the program anyway. And at 2:25, my introduction was still in progress. When I finally began to speak, the program was already at half an hour late. I have a little test I run when I am speaking before such an audience. I look to see if anyone is interested enough to take notes in the information I'm providing. I look out into the crowd and couldn't see a single pen or pencil. No one was even slightly interested in learning the professional tips or management shortcuts I was prepared to discuss. The organizers had misled me into thinking this was a training session when apparently all the audience wanted was to be entertained. So I departed from my written speech and began telling them funny stories. They felt the speech was a success because they had been entertained. At Mary Kay Cosmetics, we can't afford to waste time in this manner. Every meeting has a useful purpose, and we stick to the point. Inserting a little humor, of course. We also are very strict about beginning and ending every meeting on time. Every Monday, thousands of Mary Kay unit meetings are held across the country. With the responsibility for this many sales professionals, we must set a good example, and we do. Of course, you can use many of these same time-saving techniques when you organize the responsibilities you have at home. For the first 10 years of my career, I watched other women succeed when I did not, because they were free to use their time more productively. I used to say that as soon as I could afford it, I was going to hire a housekeeper. If you have been telling yourself the same thing, let me give you one piece of good advice. You can't afford not to have a housekeeper. Hiring someone to free you from your time-consuming household tasks can be one of the best career decisions you'll ever make. Remember, your time is your most important thing you have. Make the most of it. Do you realize that the President of the United States has the same amount of time that you have? But look what he gets done each day. By 10 in the morning, when most people are still on their second cup of coffee, chances are that he's telephoned several congressmen, signed 7 bills into law, and had a press conference. He has to make these hours count. Each of us has 24 hours every day, but it's what you do with your 24 hours that makes a difference. If you're serious about your career, I feel you should not spend your 24 hours on tasks that you could assign to someone else. I often tell our beauty consultants that a productive hour on the telephone can earn them enough money to pay for an entire day of housekeeping services. Don't worry about ironing love into your husband's collar. He probably doesn't even know about it or care. He just wants a clean shirt ready when he needs it. After people tell me they can't afford it, the second excuse I've heard is, I can't have a housekeeper. I'm too particular. That's no excuse. I'm so particular that I have the towels folded a certain way before they're put into the kitchen drawer. If someone folds them any other way, I want them refolded. But I taught my housekeeper how to do it for me, and you can teach someone how to do things for you. It might take a month to train someone, but it's time well spent. You must remember that your housekeeper is also a career woman, and she wants to succeed at her job. The important point is to get someone else to do those things that you do not that do not have to be done by you personally. One of the best things I ever did was to make a list of all the tasks that had to be done in a routine day. Then I checked off the ones that nobody else could do for me. These are things that I had to do, and I concentrated on doing them. I had someone else do all the rest. You are the only person who knows how this list would be tabulated. If you think it's important for your child to lead a club, if you think it's important for your child that you lead a Cub Scouts den, then by all means, do it. When you organize your time, you should first do those things that are truly important to you and your family. Then do what is important for your career. Anything after that is extra. When I finally made the decision to hire a housekeeper, I still had some doubts. I still thought of it as something I couldn't afford, but on sheer faith. I had put an ad in the weekend newspaper and waited for a response. Every time I started to think about paying a housekeeper, my heart would pound because I really couldn't afford to even pay for the ad. I needed someone who could do everything, so I included all the requirements: cooking, cleaning, caring for 3 children, and so on. I ended the ad by stating the salary I could afford to pay. Then I thought, anybody who's crazy enough to answer this ad is really asking for it. But on Sunday afternoon, a woman did apply. Mabel was a very lovely person, and I was thrilled when she accepted my position. I thought, how could I be so lucky? My elation was short-lived when I remembered that she was to start work the following Monday morning. How on earth would I pay her? Talk about being motivated. I never booked so many parties, sold as much, or recruited as many people as I did that week. After all, I had to have enough extra for Mabel's salary. I made enough money to pay both of us, even because she relieved me of so much of my housework. Every week thereafter, my goal was to earn enough on Monday to pay her salary on Friday. The rest of the week, whatever I earned was mine. It worked out so well that Mabel stayed with me for 9 years. Having a housekeeper has been so great for me that I must encourage every other woman to do the same. If you're still scrubbing floors, you've got to stop it. As one of our directors once said, I've been scrubbing the same spot in my house all my life and it's still dirty. It's going to stay dirty, so get someone else to do it. Delegate your work. Stop spending dollar time on penny jobs. Stop spending dollar time on penny jobs. Even if you aren't convinced that you need a housekeeper, it's still important to organize your house as you organize your career. Let me give you a tip on what I think helps any woman keep a house a little more easily. I instruct my housekeeper to thoroughly clean one room each day instead of trying to clean the whole house at one time. I mean, to go over that room from top to bottom, getting cobwebs from ceiling corners, dusting, vacuuming, polishing the furniture, and so on. And if this is done one room at a time, the entire house will have been cleaned by the end of the week. I do the same thing with cleaning out drawers. I love well-organized drawers, so I make it a practice to quickly straighten out one every morning. Doing this on a daily basis will keep the drawers in your house fairly well organized. Organizing your grocery shopping can also save tremendous time. Most women have a tendency to shop too often. Some even shop by the store every night after work, but shopping once a week can save time and money. First, you save the gasoline used by going back and forth to the market. Second, there's no way in the world you can just run to the store for a loaf of bread. I have always said that the smartest salesperson who ever lived was the fellow who invented the shopping cart. How many times have you stopped in the grocery store for a single item and ended up filling that empty cart? Your shopping time will be more efficient if you will always shop with a list in hand. Anytime I use the last of an item, I list it on the memo board I keep in my kitchen. Then, before I go to the grocery, I transfer my list to paper and stick to it. Clipping coupons is a way of life in this country, and I must admit, I also get a kick out of having the cashier hand me back several dollars. But coupon clipping can be time consuming. I've organized this task by keeping a small clipper in a small alphabetical file. When I find a coupon for the next product I use, I file it away alphabetically for my next trip to the grocery. The whole process is streamlined, and I feel good about saving that $2 or $3. Even a woman with a housekeeper often enjoys doing a great deal of cooking. Of course, you may enjoy cooking as much as I do and look upon it as a form of relaxation or as a time for the family to gather for a community project. For example, I enjoy preparing a good breakfast, and one important item is freshly baked biscuits. Now, I know that I could pop a commercially prepared biscuit into the microwave, but I like them made from scratch. Measuring flour and cutting and shortening every morning is time consuming. So I found that I could save time by storing a large batch of dry biscuit mix on a shelf. Each morning, I would simply take 1 heaping tablespoon for each biscuit and add a little milk, roll it out, and pop it into my toaster oven. By the time they were ready, I had finished cooking the bacon and eggs. The same mix doubles for pancakes. Just add a little more milk and some sugar. The way I fix biscuits is nothing special. It merely illustrates how you can cut corners without sacrificing your family's favorites. It just takes a little more pre-planning. All of us must be creative about organizing our meals these days. With so many family members going in so many different directions, it's a challenge to keep nutritious, low-fat meals on the table. More and more Americans are eating at restaurants as a normal course of events. Besides saving food preparation and cleanup time, eating out can be a terrific way to settle a busy, active family around one table at once. But having said this, I still think we should pay a little more attention to warnings that this trend is introducing dangerously high levels of fat, salt, and sugar into our diets. One of my favorite examples of organization in the kitchen comes from the top consultant on the island of Guam. The next time you complain about preparing dinner, think of this lady. She had 10 children and a husband who liked the whole family to follow the island custom of sitting down every day to a hot new meal. While managing this feat, our consultant, who was holding 2 classes a day and becoming queen of sales in her unit. When I met her, I asked, "How in the world do you accomplish it all?" She told me her method. She did not hold classes on Saturday, but used that day to supervise her family as they cooked and froze enough meals for the entire week. Then each weekday morning, the children helped her set the table and get breakfast. After those dishes were cleared, they set the table for lunch and went off to school. Before leaving her 9 o'clock class, the consultant put frozen meals in the oven and set the automatic timer. By 11:30, she returned home to find the meal cooking away, and by noon her husband and children were seated around the table. By 1:30, the cycle had repeated itself, and she was off for an afternoon class. By 4 o'clock, she was home again to greet her children as they returned from school and enjoy a light evening supper. That's being organized. I believe every woman can take a lesson from this example and save a great deal of time around the house. The key is to have a plan and to delegate work to other family members. I told you how my children helped me fill orders, but they also had regular household responsibilities. I really believe that children should have family duties regardless of the family's financial circumstances. My children had to care for their own room and do various other tasks such as gardening, raking leaves, washing dishes, and taking out the garbage. If you plan to have children, if you have children, you know that the greatest obstacle is to plan like this is the daily bickering over whose turn it is to do what or how much is enough. I solved this by developing a standard performance appraisal system. Now, I didn't know at the time, but I was using a standard employee management technique. It seemed like common sense. Nevertheless, it worked. I assigned tasks and carefully listed what I considered to be an appropriate standard of excellence for each job. A task was assigned for an entire week, and during that week, I recorded daily progress on a large poster hung in the kitchen. Each day, I would rank each job and give the children grades in the form of little stars. A gold star meant that you had done your job up to standard and without being reminded. A silver star meant that you had done it after being told a couple times, and a red star meant inferior work. At the end of the week, I added up the stars and used a little formula to calculate each child's weekly allowance. Besides being efficient, I believe the system taught them the consequences and rewards associated with work and performance. I always remember Parkinson's law when organizing work. Work expands to fill the time available for it. How true. Remember the Saturday morning you received a surprise call from an out-of-town friend or relative? Hi, we're on the outskirts of town and we'll be by in about 30 minutes. Remember how you managed to get your spring house cleaning done in 30 minutes? Or remember how you had 3 hours to pack for an unexpected trip when normally you would spend 2 days packing? Well, that's Parkinson's law in action. I use this principle to my advantage by giving myself time limits for every task. When I used to do my own laundry, I'd allow myself 3 minutes to iron a skirt. If I were making beds, I'd allot 2 minutes per bed, or I'd see if I could clean the kitchen in 10 minutes. I made a game out of it. Beat the clock. This was good for me because it reminded me that no matter what I was doing, my time was valuable. Time is much too precious to waste. I hope you guys enjoyed that story time. I hope you also like my outfit. One of my favorite shows is Adventure Time, and I think it's whenever I do like story times, I like to dress up because, you know. But that was the $35,000 list. I know I learn a lot every time I read that chapter, and that's also one of my goals this year is to make $35,000 in my Mary Kay business specifically. And so I would like to take you all on that journey with me. If you all want to join my team, I believe I'll have everything linked below for you to do that. And if you don't want to sell Mary Kay, you can also just order the products and get a good skincare system going for yourself. And I will talk to you all in the next video. I hope you all have a great day. Bye, Rainicorns.